Hey love, this is Stephanie and you're listening to the Stephanie Jane Show. So today we're talking all about you being the one to make up the rules as you go along for what it's like, what it's going to be like when you're successful. So sometimes when we think about being successful in our business, we have an idea about what we think it will look like. We have an idea of what things we would have to do. And maybe some of those things aren't that appealing. And that could be one of the key reasons that are stopping you unknowingly or unconsciously from actually moving forward in your business journey and either starting a business or going to the next level while you're starting a business. So it's really important to just think, what are the things that you have already in your mind about what you would need to do, who you would need to be, what your life would be like when you were successful? So I encourage you to write down what you would if you have a pen and paper, or just even a notes on your phone, if you're listening to this while you're on the go, or come back to it later. Just thinking, what are the things that you have in your mind that being successful would mean? Would it mean that you would be working all the time? Would it mean that you'd have no free time for yourself? Would it mean, anything that's not super positive that just comes through? And I'm not saying these beliefs that you have, just finding out what beliefs you actually have running in the background, maybe without even being consciously aware of it. I know for me, a lot of the beliefs that I had were around when I was successful, when being successful would mean I'd have to do things every single day for my business that I didn't want to do. So that doesn't really sound like much fun. That doesn't really sound like something that's exciting. It kind of, for me, the idea of being successful meant just doing things constantly, non-stop, even if you didn't want to do them or if you didn't feel like doing them, but just doing them because you had to. Like, I kind of imagined it would be this treadmill that once you got on, you're on, and it's running at say speed, 7 or 6.5. I think that was my speed when I used to run back at Les Mills in Auckland. And just having it, oh no, actually I think it was like 10.5. What am I talking about? Anyway, I'm not super slow, but I did used to do a combination of running and walking. So I'm just meaning that when I thought about starting a business, or thought about running my business and thought about being really successful in my business, I thought I had to have the speed at, we'll use 10.5 because otherwise it sounds like I'm not running very fast at all. I think it was 10.5. That I had to be on at 10.5 the whole time. And I couldn't ever press pause, or I couldn't ever just not do it for a day. I just had to every day be going the same speed. Like, once I'd started, I thought I had to continue on going exactly the same and at a rate that was quite, I guess, full on and quite hard out. And the idea of that just really didn't sound too appealing. It didn't sound like, oh, that sounds really fun, I'm really looking forward to being successful. It kind of was the opposite without really even realizing it. Because I don't actually have a drive to be going at this accelerated speed that is not a comfortable speed for me. And yes, I do think that going out of our comfort zone and doing things to push ourselves and challenge ourselves, but is all good, and that's what we definitely should be doing. But if the idea of being successful, like it was for me, was just that I had to be going all the time, all day, every day, even if I didn't feel like it, even if I wasn't in the zone, even if I wasn't feeling good, or just like feeling like I had to go all the time. And that was, I guess that came back to working when I was starting one of my first businesses, the skincare line, and I would work until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. It would just be a constant thing that I was working, and because I was trying to figure out the whole industry. I was trying to figure out how to start a skincare company and how to make my products the best products that they could be, and the whole ins and outs of everything, all the different ingredients and everything. So I was definitely working a lot of long hours in that business and just really burning the candle a lot. Because I was also working part-time at the time as well, and I was a very conscientious, even though I was working remotely, I was self-employed, so I was contracting myself out to another company, but I'm a very conscientious worker when I am working for someone else, so I would just go over and above all the time. I'd always be working more hours than I was rostered on to work. It was just, I would just always go above and beyond, because I think I felt a bit guilty, the fact that I was working remotely and working for myself. So it was a bit of a change and a shift from going to being working in an office and you're an employee and you're getting paid a certain amount, to being, okay, now you're a self-employed contractor and you're contracting yourself out. For some reason, because I thought that was so much better, and it was so much better, because I thought it was so much better, I would actually overcompensate, and so I would do a lot more work than I was doing when I was working full-time for the company, because of this benefit. But it wasn't the way that my mind had worked it was just not helpful for me at all. So I was working a lot. I was working, 16-hour days were very normal for me, and 16-hour days, 7 days a week were very normal for me as well. And so when I started shifting over into the personal development business, which the Stephanie Jane company, which was what you're listening to right now, I kind of was thinking that once I'm successful in this company, that it would be, working all the time and continuing to work all the time and continuing to work massively long hours and doing things, as I said, that I didn't feel like doing. And so the idea of being successful just didn't sound that appealing. It just didn't sound like something that I really wanted to do. It didn't sound exciting to me. It didn't sound free. One of my main values in business is freedom, and it might be I need to turn my sound off when I'm doing this and it might be a value that you have also. And so if one of your top values is freedom, then when you think about what being successful is going to be like, then if what you envision being successful is the opposite of freedom, which is exactly what mine was, the opposite of freedom, it was more like even more work than a 9-to-5 job. It was more hours and everything like that. And while I do think the work's different because it's work that I enjoyed and still enjoy and absolutely love and would literally do it all day, every day, but it's just the fact of feeling like, again, once I was on the treadmill, that I wouldn't be able to stop. And so that for me was the opposite of freedom. And so I just encourage you to have a think about what, and I tell that story so that you can see if you pick up bits from that story and see if they relate to you, and see if you have similar ideas, or you can kind of cross that over into your life about things that maybe you would think you have already inside you, that once you were successful, it would mean certain things. What are the certain rules that you have around what you think being successful would look like? What are the certain, restrictions that being successful would be like? And it might, for example, be, say, if you were really successful, that you might be recognized in the streets. You might be, in the streets, or, having a cafe, going to a cafe. So some of the things I had to think about was, if I am going to be this very, very successful, inspirational content creator, speaker and author, then, would I be recognized in the street? Would I be able to continue on my day? At the time, my days around, going to different cafes, sometimes on the weekends. I do actually really like going to the movies. So as in LA at the moment, and so I would go to the movies on, the weekend by myself. And I was just thinking, would I still do these things if I was successful? And I had this idea that maybe my life would have to change, that maybe my life would have to be something different, and it would be less free. It all comes back to freedom, because I guess, freedom is just such a high, that's why one of the main reasons that I have is one of my top values and reasons for starting a company, so working for myself. So it is just if being successful kind of impacts on that freedom in terms of what you're able to do with your spare time, or what you're able to do with the time that you're working, if there are some negative connotations that kind of come through, and this is something that I encourage you to dig into, because it's not something that I was aware of at all on a conscious level. I was unaware of these things, and it wasn't until I did the journaling question, which I just gave at the beginning of this audio, is in what current beliefs do you have around what being successful would be like for you. Until I did that, until I go through this process myself, I didn't actually realize that, of course, there's a lot of reasons that were holding back from being successful, because the idea that I had in my mind of being successful is not one that I was wanting. And you also might have something come through. It might be that you think once you are really successful, that you'd have to do things that you didn't want to do. So you'd have to help out a lot of people, or and you do, your business would be helping people, obviously, but you might feel that there was just so many things once you kind of you stand up and you start your business, and then there might be a million people being like, oh, I guess it's not the case for my business, because my business is helping women start businesses. But for you and your friends groups, you might be like, oh, if I start my business, and I'm going to have a lot of other friends and a lot of other people who are going to be like wanting me to help them out all the time, and I'm just like, there might be that reason in there going on, or maybe even supporting other people financially or time-wise. Now that you'd be starting your own business, there might be some obligations that you think you'd have to do. So I encourage you to dig into what you would think in your business would be a roadblock for you. What would be an unconscious belief? Kind of imagine it like think about different sound waves, because I guess we're listening to an audio now. So if you know what one of those sound wave looks like when someone's recording the voice, or even a monitor, like a heart rate monitor. And there's different, blips and different lines that go across. And it's just really thinking, what is the undercurrent? So what is the undertone of this kind of, I guess, this track running in the background that you might not be consciously aware of, but it's running its own path, and it's kind of, it's in there, even if there is other noise above it, or there's other kind of things going on. It's this constant, ooh, but that would mean this, or being successful would actually mean this, or I would lose this if I was successful, or I wouldn't be as free if I was successful, or I would have to do a lot of things I didn't want to do. And so just really questioning, get yourself, and so you can find out what is the undercurrent, what is the undercurrent beliefs that are unconscious, that you can bring your awareness to and become conscious of by doing this process. And the reason that we're doing this is so that you can go through and look at them and actually ask yourself, are these beliefs true? Is everyone in the world that, and I love using this as an example, so you might have heard it on one of my other trainings, in terms of asking if something is true, because for one of us, if it's true for one of us, it's true for all of us. So going through and being like, okay, is it true that every single person that is successful has to work 16-hour days? No, that is not true. So that's a belief that's just for you, that you've picked up along the way, or me particularly, I'm talking about, because that was a belief that I had, and you might have that as well. But that was a belief that I picked up through my personal experiences, through just, I guess, having it downloaded through the collective unconscious, and also having it in society's beliefs that I've kind of picked up along the way, and things that I've heard and experienced in my life. I'd come across the view that people who are successful have to work a lot of hours. But really, that's not true for all of us. That's not true for every single successful person. So that means it does not have to, it's not true. So that's just a belief that can be replaced. And so a belief that we would replace, so the process of going through that, so going through listing all the beliefs that you have, and then next to them asking yourself, are they true? Is this true for everyone? Or are there exceptions? And if there are exceptions, bam, you've just been able to, I guess, see the back door, or see the hole that you can go into and really explode that belief from the core of that belief, and then just be able to replace it with something new. You've found the, I'm thinking, what is the word for it? You found the weak point of that belief. When you can find an exception where it's not true, you've found an entry point into being able to explode it. And I guess that analogy makes sense for me. I'm not sure if it makes sense for you, but it's just thinking about things that are not true, and how you can use that to your advantage to really, start to question your beliefs and create ones that are fully supportive of what you want to achieve in your life. So after we've done that, the next thing will be to go through and actually choose new beliefs and new ideas about what being successful is like. So if you get to create this, if you get to fully create this love, if you get to fully just choose what being successful would be like to you, what would you be doing? What are the things that would happen once you were successful? And it might be, for example, and one of the ones I just used for what I replaced it with was being, instead of working 16-hour days when I didn't really feel like it, if I was not feeling like in the zone, if I was not feeling in flow, if I was just not feeling that good vibe at the day, I would be like, okay, well, I'm just going to take some time out for me. If I was really successful, when I'm really successful, being really successful, go out and get a coffee. and just have some time to myself and kind of reset if that's what my gut was feeling like, if that was what my soul was feeling like, if that's what my intuition was feeling like, if that's what I guess the thing that I felt like doing, I would do it. And I would actually be able to work with myself instead of forcing myself to be like on the go 16 hours a day for something that, even if I didn't feel like it. So it's just encouraging it and changing that belief. And so the belief of being like, okay, being successful allows more freedom and flexibility in my schedule. And can you see, can you hear, can you get that? How, that little shift can just be so monumental. That little shift can just make such a huge impact, because then being successful is no longer this restrictive 16-hour a day, never getting any time off, 7 days a week situation. It's being successful gives you more freedom and flexibility to be able to actually cultivate your day, create your day the way that you desire, the way that you feel like creating it for that day, while still obviously going forward to your goals. Now, I'm not saying it would be like a whole day without doing anything, not working whole days, although having some time off, depending on how you are, you might be someone that works 7 days. I probably do mostly work 6 or 7 days, but I don't work 16 hours of the day. So it's just choosing what works for you. And if you still, depending on how far you are or along in your journey, the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday thing might be something that you might start off doing, and it'll change and shift to see how your body works best, to see what feels best for you, and you'll kind of adjust your time schedule. But what I'm meaning by that is just meaning when I have this new belief that being successful actually allows more freedom and flexibility in my schedule, and that if I feel like it in the morning, if I don't feel like starting work until midday, if I'm not feeling in the zone or feeling feeling inspired to create at that time, if I do need to do something before I get inspired, which might be going for coffee for a cafe, going for a long walk, or talking with a friend, or reading a book, or something like that. If it's something like that needs to happen first in order for me to get into the creative zone, then that's actually okay. And being successful, meaning that there's more freedom and flexibility to be able to do that. And so it's just, really having a think about what your beliefs are around what you think being successful would be like, questioning them, finding out if they are in fact true or if they can be changed, if you can create new ones, if they're true for you, and then going forward and then creating what it would be like when you are successful, and writing down the things that it would be like, and making those things sound amazing to you, making those things sound amazing and appealing, making those things something that you want, something that you're striving towards, something that will give you the fire every single day to be able to go forth and create it. Something that's enticing, appealing, irresistible even. If you make being successful irresistible, I guarantee you will be able to more and more and more go towards your dreams and your goals. When the feeling of being successful has all of these irresistible characteristics about it, you're going to be there in a heartbeat, love. You're going to be there. You're going to do the actions that need to be done in order to get you there, because the outcome that you're going for is so irresistible, it's so desirable, it's so exactly what you want. And you're consciously aware of what the outcome is, instead of, as maybe before, if you hadn't really thought about this before properly, before doing this, before listening to this audio training, you might have had these unconscious beliefs, as I said, the undercurrents running through, and they might have been saying that when you're successful, then all these things that aren't really that appealing to you would happen. And of course, love, if we really think about it, if we think that being successful is going to be constrictive and restrictive on our time and of our freedoms, then it's not something we're going to be, even if our conscious mind is yes, I want this, yes, I want this, yes, I want this. If the unconscious mind is no, you don't, this is not what I want, this is not something that I desire, then you're going to be it's like the 1 step forward, 2 step back situation. It's going forward to go back because there's something blocking you, there's something stopping you. And it's the undercurrent of these beliefs about what we believe originally, what you believe from up before this point in time, what being successful was going to be like for you. But the thing is, love, you can change it in an instant. You can change it in an instant. You can change it today on this audio by doing I love listening to things, but then it's just also needing to take the action as well. Unfortunately, just listening isn't going to get, I guess it's great. It'll definitely help in terms of being able to shift this and start to question it. But if you can actually write down what you would think being successful would be like to you after this, then it will be 100 times more beneficial, and I just really recommend that for you. And it is all a practice as well. So coming back and tuning into this, if this is something that resonates with you, if you feel that you've maybe had a lot of you've identified a lot of beliefs that would not be helpful for you, the idea of being successful is not something that you were really driving towards. If this is hitting home for you, if this is coming up and there's a lot of aha moments going on for you, then I encourage you to do this as a practice. I encourage you for the next little while doing it daily and writing it down and just changing it, because if it's been ingrained of you of what being successful would be like for a long while up until now, and it's not that positive, then we can change it in an instant. So definitely decide that it's changed in an instant, but let's definitely practice it. Let's definitely practice it to get it to become an automatic neural pathway. Let's practice it to get it to continue on, that when you think about being successful, the neural pathway, instead of connecting to successful means a lot of work, restricted of time, not having the freedom to do what I want, it needs to change to obviously the new beliefs, which may be something similar to I will have more freedom and flexibility in my life once I'm successful. So to create that new neural pathway, it does need to be a process of repetition. It does need to be a process of installing that so that it can run on a different circle. If you imagine two circles in your mind, so one would be I really want to be successful, and then you can imagine the old pathway, say going to a circle to the left, and then if you imagine the new pathway going to a circle from the right, and just the one on the left might be very well worn. It might be a path that's been traveled a lot. So we need to create a new pathway and make this the pathway that's traveled a lot, so that this becomes the new normal. This becomes the new go-to pathway, so that it just becomes automatic when you're thinking, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to be so successful. Then it's going straight to, success means more freedom and flexibility in my life. Yes, and I'm boom, 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 doing the actions in order to be able to create that success for you. So that's the training for today. I'm super excited to hear how you found this. Definitely write in the comments below, depending on where you're listening to this. If you're listening to us in SoundCloud or on the website or on YouTube, just let me know in the comments how you found this, or send me an email, let me know. Okay, well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I hope this has helped, and I'm so excited to see what you create. I'm so excited to see what you create. I just cannot wait. It's going to be so amazing and so exciting. So have an amazing day. Bye, loves.